Hello, everyone. I'm Bradley Hailstorm, founder and president of Lion Wing Publishing. I just wanted to jump on here real quickly and to personally say thank you so much for supporting Kedamono Opera. You all showed up, turned out, and supported us in a big way, and we are forever grateful for you doing so. Kedamono Opera is a very special game. It's a very unique game. Uh, Sometimes unique doesn't always sell, unfortunately. But it would seem that Kedamono Opera's brand of unique does. And it's thanks to all of you that it did sell. So as we wrap up the campaign here, uh, we were funded 400% of our funding goal. 700 folks showed up to support Kedamono Opera. We unlocked all of our stretch goals. And it was a kind of wild 24 hours of the last campaign. We really shot up there in funding total in the last day or so, the last day that the campaign was live, which was it's always exciting to see. Sometimes that happens, and it certainly happened with Kedamono Opera. This project was in the making for quite a long time. We started talking to ArcLight, who are the original Japanese publishers of the title. Gosh, I don't know, like maybe January of 2023. That sounds about right, about a year and a half ago. So this one had a long tail, primarily not because the negotiations took a while. They really didn't. It was just, it's a really big book. This is one of the biggest books that we've done, if not the biggest. I'm wondering, off the top of my head, if it's bigger than Shin Megami. It might be simply because Shin Megami, while it has a comparable amount of pages, there's a lot of like data and charts and images in Shin Megami, and that's not necessarily the case with Kedamono. So there's probably more text in Kedamono Opera. Regardless, whether it was the biggest or second biggest, it was big, and it took us a while to get through, certainly. And so now we have kind of the next leg of our development journey that's going to take place, and that is we're going to wrap up editing on the book. Once our editing is done, we do this with all of our TTRPGs. Once our editing passes are complete, we will release the book in beta form to all backers. We do ask that you have confirmed your order before we send the beta codes to you, but nevertheless, beta codes will go out. At least one round of beta codes will go out. And in the beta, it's going to work just like it has in all of our previous books. And that is, we'll send out the codes, you'll get the beta. It will not be a finalized copy of the book. But what we will ask is that everyone, if you've got the time, and if you'd like to, you don't have to, you can just get the beta and play the game. It's totally cool. But if you would like to, we greatly appreciate going through the book as you're reading it and trying to spot any typos or errors that we may have missed. We're a relatively small team, and this is a relatively large book. And so it's likely that regardless of how many editing passes we do, we will miss something. And so it's always nice when we've got hundreds of sets of eyes on a project rather than just a few. And so we would ask that when those beta codes go out, if you'd like, give us your feedback on the book. Try to find any typos, errors, weirdly worded things. We'll set up a whole channel in our Discord, just like we have with all of our past projects, where you can report your findings. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to take all of those suggestions and insert them into the book, especially if they're like stylistic things. Sometimes people, which is great of them, they will identify wording that they found strange, but it's not necessarily strange to us, and so we might not implement that feedback. Certainly, we will implement all typo feedback, but even the things where people say, "Hey, I think this might be weirded, or worded weirdly." When we look at it, we might say, you know what? Yeah, it actually is. We'll take your suggestion. We'll go ahead and, go back through and edit that line. So it's a really cool part of this process. It's one of the great things about having Kickstarter as a funding platform is it gives us the chance, to not only fund these games and to market these games to the most amount of people possible, but it's a really great opportunity to involve the community in these projects. These are special projects. They're big projects. No one else is really doing these types of projects, and so we think that it's a cool opportunity for folks, backers, those who pre-order our games, to be involved in this part of the process, which is why we do the beta. Yes, we do it because we want to catch as many errors as possible so that when we ship the book, it's as clean as it can be. but also we do it because it's just fun to get you all involved in the QA process, a little bit of the development process, and so hopefully you all like it as much as we like it. Like I said, we've done this for every book so far, so that means we've done it for 4 books, if my math is correct. I think we've done 4 RPGs at this point. This will be our 5th time doing it, and so the beta codes won't go out until September 6th. Probably the beta codes probably won't go out until November. Don't quote me on that. But probably early November, plus or minus 2 weeks. So don't get your hopes up for anything like super, super soon, but certainly soon we'll be sending out those codes. As I said, Kedamono Opera it's a very special game. It's unlike anything that we've ever done. If you've tuned into any of my live streams in the past, you'll have heard me talk about I don't like to do the same project twice. Not necessarily, I don't like to release supplemental content for some of our established products and books, but I mean, if I have a high fantasy ish TTRPG and I launch that Kickstarter in August. The next time I launch a Kickstarter, let's say in January or whatever it is, I don't necessarily want to do another high fantasy TTRPG. And so I'm always trying to make sure that we've got variety, that we're giving folks a different kind of play experience. And I don't think could get any more different than Kedamono Opera. Its aesthetics are different. We are a company, if you look at our product listings, you will see that we are heavy into the anime aesthetic, and certainly there is some of that present in Kedamono Opera, and at the same time, it's a very different art style. Just like Eldritch Escape, which was our last RPG that we took to Kickstarter, it too had a very different visual presentation, and that's true again for Kedamono Opera. So I love that. I love being able to offer unique play experiences, unique visuals, and so that each Lion Wing release feels different from the last. There's always inherent risk with that, though. We as humans are creatures of habit, and it's hard to break out and try something new. Whether that something new is new just because of its visual presentation, or because in the land of TTRPGs, maybe the mechanics are different, maybe it's a new rule set that you never used before, and so when I was looking at Kedamono Opera and, I was thinking, I love this art style. This is super cool. We haven't done this before. It's dark. It's whimsical. It's got all of these really like disparate parts that come together to create somehow this very cohesive vision and visual style. I wasn't entirely convinced that other people were going to think it was as cool as me. I certainly hoped that people would find the visual presentation as striking as I did. But with a lot of these projects, especially when you're like dealing with very niche products, you never really know how it's going to hit. At this point, I've been doing this for 7 years. I generally have a pretty good idea of how things are going to go, but there's always that like X factor where like no matter how long you've been doing this, if you're still working with niche stuff, you've never released something like the thing you're getting ready to release, there is some concern about, oh, I think this is going to do well, but I really don't know. It's not like with some of our past TTRPGs, like Picaresque Roman, Convictor Drive, Fledge which had these really like beautiful visuals, visual presentation, stylings, theming, all this fantastic stuff, very anime looking. That is a much safer route than stepping outside that box, especially it's safer when the core of your audience loves that and knows that you produce that kind of product and in some ways expects that from you. And so anytime that I'm about to do something that's not that, I'm like, oh boy, okay, I hope people see the value in this. I hope they like it as much as I do, even though I know they really love this particular style. Now, we will get back to more traditional anime looking RPGs. Do not worry at all there. I know it's been back-to-back products, back-to-back TTRPG projects that have Kickstarter projects that have been very not that. Eldritch Escape is Eldritch Escape. If you've seen that visual style, you probably don't know what to call it either. I worked on this thing and I don't know what that visual style is other than like uh, hauntingly beautiful, I guess I would say, and also terrifying at the same time, right? It's about big monsters eating people. And then Kedamono Opera, also, you're like, okay, I'm following up a project that had an art style that's not one we do very often with another art style that we don't do very often. Now, the good news is the illustrator for Kedamono is phenomenal, globally known, well known from The Girl from the Other Side, and so Nagabe is has a very distinct um, illustration approach, and so it's amazing. And um, if you're a fan of that work, then you know it's amazing. But a lot of people aren't. In fact, when we were trying to dial in the Facebook ads, I had asked our marketing strategist, like, hey, can we tune the audience, like just this one? We'll run one kind of ad, and I just want to tune it toward like people who are going to be into Nagabe's art. And unfortunately, when you go and you put in keywords in the back end of Meta or Facebook, and you're trying to identify your target demo with Facebook ads, you need to put in categories that are recognized by Facebook. And the only categories that are recognized by Facebook are categories um, that people have demanded and that there's a large enough audience talking about and mentioning that it has come up as a category that you can click on and pick from when you're identifying who you want to target for your specific Facebook ads. Unfortunately, while Nagabe has a very rabid fan base of folks who love that style, too small of a niche to even be recognized by Facebook. So I was kind of bummed. I really wanted to get this work in front of the folks who really love that art style, but unfortunately, Facebook would not allow it. Nevertheless, I got here because I was saying we've done two back-to-back RPGs that don't look like the rest of our RPGs. And so this project had a lot of risk that the other projects do not. Not only the visual presentation, that is risk factor one. And by risk factor, I don't necessarily mean like bad. I just mean like, is there a market for it? Is the market going to show up? That's what I mean by that. So that's risk factor one. Risk factor two is it is a story first, theatrical, non-combat, very non-traditional, um, almost narrative exclusive RPG. Which that statement in and of itself had like multiple qualifiers, right? So like at this point you're like checking all of these boxes that each time you check one of those boxes, each time you check one of those risk factors, the pool of candidates who would want this thing get smaller and smaller and smaller. So its gameplay was very niche, art very niche. Two risk factors. Risk factor three doesn't have to do anything with like customer facing stuff, rather internal facing. And that is, this was a huge book, which means there was a ton of text to translate, which means it was an expensive project, a very expensive project. On top of when you're working with a publishing giant like Arclight, they also might uh, be a little bit more aggressive in their contract negotiations, which you might then pay them a little bit more because they are a bigger company and they can demand that, and they can say if you don't pay us this, then you just don't get this work. So you got to pony up a little bit more. So the book costs more to translate. The royalties are a little bit higher on this one. There were multiple people involved at a rights level that you got to take care of. So you've got a game mechanically and visually that is only going to appeal to a certain demographic, very specific demographic, and then you've got all of these like financial risks that go along with this thing, and you put all those together and you start painting this picture of like a project where you know, for me as the owner of the company, I'm just like crossing my fingers when we launch. When I press the go live button on the Kickstarter campaign, I'm just crossing my fingers, saying to myself, oh God, I hope people show up for this. I hope they like this. And when it is this niche with this many risk factors, you can't be 100% certain that people are going to show up for it. So you all did. Long-winded, very inside baseball way of saying that this project, there was a lot that went into it, and there was a lot riding on it, and you all made it worth it in the end. So thank you so much. We are so incredibly grateful for your support and really for believing in Kedamono, the game, believing in us, and then also trusting us to bring this product to you. So the people that do know this game, the people who are plugged into the Japanese TTRPG scene, know how good a game this is. And so there is pressure riding on us to make sure we get it right. That's with every single project, whether there's a lot of pressure or little pressure, you always want to get it right, of course. um, but certainly this is sort of like a beloved game in Japan, and you know that people, because it's beloved, people in the West and the rest of the globe also know about it, some people. And you want to make sure that you do the source work justice, and you all um, are trusting us enough to do the source work justice by backing the campaign. Um, I will never not be grateful. I will never take for granted the fact that each time we go to Kickstarter, each time we put a product up, whether it's for pre-order or Kickstarter, um, that you all are the ones that make this happen. Without you, none of this happens. Without you, Lion Wing does not exist. And you all have allowed us to be of ultra niche company that is sustainable and has been sustainable for 3 or shy of a decade at this point. That doesn't happen without you. Like, we can't, like, if you don't exist, we have no one to sell the product to, which means we can't keep doing this stuff. And it's never lost on me how integral you are to this thing, Lion Wing, this business working. Without you, I don't know who else does this stuff. And so, thank you for allowing us to be the ones to do this stuff and to bring you a wide array of different types of tabletop games. That's ultimately what this comes down to. And so, we will be posting going forward, just so you have some clear expectations. We will be posting a Kickstarter update about once a month from here on out until the game ships. There will be times when we post more updates than just one a month. Like in September, we'll post a couple just because the campaign just ended and we've got some things to say. We'll post a couple when like the pledge manager invites go out and we walk people through how to confirm their orders and all of that. And then we will post multiple posts once we get closer to the books shipping. But all the space in between, one post a month. Of course, if you want to get a hold of us, you don't have to wait until we post something and then post a comment, in response to that post, like get our attention so you can talk to us about something. You can always reach out to us anytime. You can drop us a DM on Kickstarter, of course. Admittedly, I'm like not super great about getting back to Kickstarter DMs quickly. It is a fatal flaw of mine. However, if you do want to get a response very quickly, usually, oftentimes within minutes of when you DM me, reach out via Discord. It's the best way to get a hold of me. It is the most consistent way to get a hold of me. Don't use the contact form on our website, on lionwingpublishing.com. A lot of people use that. I don't get notifications when that happens. Sometimes those emails never even make it to me. They just disappear into the internet ethos. And I never see them. They never materialize in my inbox or anywhere else. And so people will say, like, hey, I sent you multiple emails. Why didn't you respond? It's like, oh, well, it's because I didn't get any of them. So reach out to us through Discord, or you can reach out to us through social. You can drop us a DM on X or Facebook or Instagram or wherever. But really, Discord's the best place to go. Plus, you probably want to be checking out our Discord and be a part of our Discord if you're not in our Discord. Anyway, it's a super welcoming, super cool group of folks who have been with us for many, many years now. We talk about everything there. From Kedamono Opera to anything else, Final Fantasy 14 to anime to whatever. Um, it's all up for grabs. That's where we do a lot of our community events, where we do the organizing of our community events, the signups for our community events. I know we've got some content, some DLC content coming down the pike for a couple of our other games, and those DLCs will revolve around events. All of that will be handled on Discord too. So it really is the best place to be a part of the Lion Wing community, to be a part of like-minded fans, and to get the best Lion Wing scoops first. Typically, I announce things to the Discord long before I ever put them out on social, just because line wing is not my primary job. Sometimes I can only get to announcing something through one platform before a couple hours goes by, or unfortunately, sometimes a day or two goes by before I get to announcing it through X or Facebook or something. And so it's also just good to be in the Discord because you see that stuff first, because I'm always going to go there first. So be sure to check it out there. Again, reach out to us if you ever need us, and we will get back to you. So, with all of that being said, thank you again so much for allowing us to bring this game to you. And now the real work begins for us, and we will be walking you through that process, what that process looks like, and we will be transparent in our communication every step of the way so that you know what's happening with Kedamono, where we're at with Kedamono, and what you can expect from the future of Kedamono. So, again, thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Take care.